2 minutes till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Thirty seconds till broadcast. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Republicans right now, the conservatives, which unfortunately, this is what we have to do every time, even after a vote where people are sick and tired of the establishment, they're sick and tired of the squeezy, middle-of-the-road, squishy kind of Republican rhinos, and we vote conservatives in, then we have to fight tooth and nail in D.C. to actually be heard within the Republican Party.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, darn right it is. What's up? Welcome into the program. It's a Monday, a brand new week. I am fully recovered after my insanity of a concert that happened last week. I have rested. I have enjoyed the outdoors. Got some home projects done. We're ready to rock and roll for another week. So welcome into it, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas on our flagship radio station. But we are all over the country, multiple radio stations, TV, live streaming, and podcasting. However you watch or listen to the program, your Millennial General reporting for duty like we do every single day. And we're starting off this week, man, with a bang. Bottom of the hour, we have Scott Powell. We've had him on the program before, author. We'll talk about, is government betraying the Constitution? Gasp. I know. So we'll talk about that at the bottom of the hour. What's going on? How can we fix it? And what is the government really doing? I think really anything outside of the judiciary, the executive, and the legislative branches, the whole fourth branch of agencies and departments, technically, are a bit unconstitutional. But is that the problem? And how do we solve that? So welcome into it. We have a lot to get to. Also, right out of the gate, man, as you heard in the intro just a little bit, we have the conservatives fighting in Washington, D.C. It's hard. I get it. It's tough. However, the Conservative Political Action Conference came out, and we talked about this on Friday, wrapping up the program. They came out with their ratings on conservative leaders in D.C., and we have, out of the Republican caucus as a whole, in the Senate and on the House side, about 50% of the caucus in total that's either an 80% or higher, according to the Conservative Political Action Conference ratings on their conservative votes, which is good news. We're at 50%. Obviously can do better in our Republican caucus, but at least that's some good news. One of those guys, however, and we gave him praise on Friday as well, great personal friend, great friend of the show, my representative here in the 4th District of Kansas, as he is right here in studio with us here for the first half hour of the program, Congressman Ron Estes. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Andy?
It is great to see you. First off, congratulations, because not only were you in the top 80%, You were at 97%. So you're up there with like those fringe radicals of like Ted Cruz and those guys.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Well, and I don't think it's fringe radicals. So when you think about what's important for the country, think about what's important for people in Kansas.
Common sense.
Yeah, it's common sense. And the legislation that comes before us and how we should vote, and what we should support, and what we should oppose just makes sense in so many levels.
Well, it does. With the issues, especially that we're seeing today, just a common sense vote is predominantly a conservative vote. I mean, you understand the difference between men and women and boys and girls. And I know that apparently is a radical position to take today.
It really is. And that's sad. You think, in the 1970s, we passed the Title IX Act. I mean, federal government passed that in order to help encourage women and girls to participate in sports. Yeah. And now they're throwing that all out the window by letting boys compete against girls and actually denigrating the accomplishments that they've achieved.
Yeah. Well, and a shout out to our Kansas State legislature and how they were able to override our Democrat governor's veto on that issue. I know Florida's working on the same thing. Not the direction I wanted to go for the program with you, but I had to throw it out that it's a major national issue, and I'm glad we're finally starting to it. And it said we have to address it, but at least we are.
It really is. And that, I mean, that's just one of so many issues that don't get enough talk about what's really the common sense around things, and talking about how much federal government's really spending and how much growth of government and all of these things that kind of get propagandized or swept under the rug or misconstrued and misinformation.
Yeah, amen to that. When you come in, I know we always love to talk about it and we kind of nerd out on this segment, but the fact that you're kind of at the head of the realm here with both the Ways and Means Committee, the Budget Committee, we like to talk about finances on this program. Last week, you guys presented and passed a bill that would address the debt ceiling issue that's ongoing. Kevin McCarthy trying to talk with the Biden administration. That's not going very far right now, but at least you guys passed something. And I have, it's a decent bill. I don't like the fact that we did raise the debt ceiling by $1.5 trillion in this bill, but it shows that you guys are willing to work with Democrats who are not willing to work with Republicans on this issue right now. But how'd you feel about it as it kind of came out?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, President Biden and Chuck Schumer have been talking, for months now in terms of saying, just raise the debt ceiling, make it a clean debt ceiling increase. Basically, what they want to do is just continue spending money. Yeah. I mean, the problem's not what our debt level is. The problem is that we're spending more money than is coming in. So, President Biden said, he'd had a meeting with Speaker McCarthy and said, let's talk about where we're going forward. That was 89 days ago, and he hasn't done a thing since then to address our debt problem.
Yeah.
When we look at where the federal government spending is this year, we're actually borrowing $1 out of every $5 that's being spent by the federal government. And that's just not sustainable. And that's so insane. Until we get to the point where we're actually getting our overspending under control, we'll never be able to pay back the debt we have. Right. So that was the piece of, as we were focusing on this bill and passing it forward, was we've dug such a big hole. And I say it's Congresses over the years have dug such a big hole that it's going to take longer than 1 year to dig out of it. Yeah. And that was the point that we were looking at is what's a common sense way? I mean, we know it's going to take some time, so let's extend the debt for a little bit longer. Let's start to put in some rational limits on the growth of spending. We're not even doing cuts. What we've included in the bill was spend at the levels for fiscal year 22 for the next year. Now, that's just 18 months ago. So if we're in such bad shape that we can't spend at the same levels we were 18 months ago, that's a pretty bad state for the United States. And then also, COVID's epidemic, the pandemic level is over with. Yep. So there's billions of dollars out there that's not been spent. So let's call that money back. Let's take it off the books in terms of money that's out there to spend and say, let's focus on what do we need to do going forward. And looking at some regulatory reform, looking at common sense approaches to things like if you're getting benefits, whether it's food stamps or other benefits, right, and you're able-bodied and you're childless, you should work. I mean, Americans are generous people. We want to help people, give them a hand up to help them with that process. But Americans do expect that there's some responsibility on the part of the individual to actually work as well.
Again, there's that radical position again there. There's a lot of stuff to break down there. So let's start off with the beginning of this. As like you said, first off, we have a lot of COVID money that was passed that we haven't a lot of, which is weird. They just passed a random, here's a massive amount of money. Now we don't know what to do with it. Why we're not reappropriating that to actually take care of some of the debt and extend out that concern of the government shutting down a debt ceiling, because we're 3.5 months unfunded right now for the federal government until the end of the fiscal year in September. That's common sense. Again, why wouldn't we do something like that? How much money is sitting there right now?
It really is. And there's, by estimates, there's $50 to $60 billion that's not been given out to states, not been given out to businesses, not been given out through Paycheck Protection Program or some of the other good programs that were out there.
Right.
And so how this came about was once we overcome the initial problem with COVID, and President Trump's Operation Warp Speed developed the vaccine. We had the vaccine rolling out. President Biden came into office. He had to do something to say that, an accomplishment for his first 100 days. So he passed this ARPA bill. That was his first 100-day success, and called it a COVID relief bill. And in reality, the COVID dynamic was already in the downward spiral and didn't need to do that. And so money out there that wasn't needed to be spent and had the side effect, though, of causing all this inflation that we're suffering through right now. But the money's just lingering out there and not been spent. So, let's pull that back in. If the emergency situation's over, we can always. There's always things that we have to spend money on, but let's not wastefully spend what we have.
Well, yeah, let's find the priorities and what we need. That's supposed to be the budgetary process. Again, before we went to the Obama administration, we had the actual 12 appropriation bills. We actually had, it set in stone to decide what we're going to fund, what we're not going to fund. And by the way, at that time, our debt was only 40% of our actual GDP. Now we're at 120% of our GDP, which means if we stole every penny from man, woman, child, and business in the country right now, we would still not have enough money to pay all of our debt. We've never been in a situation like this before. While the Biden administration says, well, you guys have always just willy-nilly just raised the debt ceiling, we've never been at this level before. We got to do something a little bit different.
It really is. I mean, the budget that we're operating under, the appropriations that we're operating under this year, borrows another $1.5 trillion. And President Biden's proposed budget for next year is to borrow another $1.8 trillion with no end in sight, and actually looking at over a 10-year period, increasing our debt by $17 trillion. Now, they tried to mask
it. On top of the 32 that we're on, right?
On top of the 31 plus that we're at right now. And they tried to mask it by saying, well, we're not borrowing $20 trillion, so therefore we're saving $3 trillion. I mean, that's the kind of games that the counting process that they use shows up in that.
Are they doing the same thing when this budget that you guys have says to increase government only by 1% every year now? As far as I'm aware, a lot of the social programs grow by 4, 5, 6% every year. So according to them, that's a 4% budget cut right there, and everybody's going to die in the streets.
It really is. They make the wailing and gnashing of teeth that, it's a cut, when in reality it's a smaller increase than they wanted.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if we have an increase in revenue because we have a good economy, we have strong economic growth, we bring in more tax revenue when that happens. But if we spend more than we bring in, then it keeps us underwater. And that's the piece that we've got to rein in and make sure that spending gets knocked down to where ultimately where our growth in revenue comes from.
Yeah, amen to that. We're talking with Congressman Ron Estes, 4th District here in the state of Kansas, my congressman in the Kansas area of South Central Kansas. Let's talk about those social programs for a second. If we get people back onto actually needing to do work requirements, go through training, actually apply like we used to prior to the COVID, back to the old norm, is that going to save us some money on some of the social programs that we've been spending on over the last couple of years? Is that going to help out this process?
It really will. I mean, going back to when President Clinton was in office, he signed the Welfare to Work program, which was the first step at being taken of saying able-bodied American citizens who are receiving hand-ups from their fellow taxpayers ought to go to work. Yeah. And it's a minimum amount. What was in the bill was 20 hours a week. So it's not like it's a burdensome amount of impact on people.
Sure.
Over the years, though, since President Clinton signed that into law, a lot of exceptions have been allowed, and states have been allowed to waive, and COVID made it even worse.
Yeah.
So a lot of those waivers are in effect, and in multiple states now, you don't have to lift a finger to go to work and get these federal benefits from other taxpayers who are paying the money in.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. We got to take a break here in just a second. It is sad when the Biden administration says that this bill, or Chuck Schumer's the one that said this one, that if this bill passes that you guys proposed, it would cut money from working class and middle class Americans. Although I thought that middle class meant that we wouldn't have to need these certain programs, but yet it's going to cut money away from them, so that way they can't work and get their social programs all at the same time. Kind of a fascinating concept there, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, they'll make up any kind of propaganda spin or misinformation in order to tax some common sense thing.
Yeah, well, and if we need the middle class to be getting social programs as much as they are with working, then we have a deeper issue right now with the fact that they can't even live on a middle class income any longer. Again, goes back to the whole inflation and the spending from the federal government. We'll do some more of that when we come back. You've got to take a break. It's Congressman Ron Estes from the 4th District here in Kansas. We'll talk about this bill. We'll also get into the budgetary process for next fiscal year. Maybe we're a little more confident going into next year. We'll see how that goes right around the corner. It's a Monday. It's the Voice of Reason. We've got a lot to get to today to kick off a week. Let's carpe diem all over this place, baby. Stay right there.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to the Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring the Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hooser Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason, and I want to tell you about my friends over at OpsLens. As you know, they've been a great partner with the program, along with so many other TV, radio, and podcasting programs from all over the country talking about really anything you want to hear, from current events, Second Amendment, politics, health and lifestyle, and so much more. No matter your interest, OpsLens has a show for you, helping educate, entertain, and battle the mainstream propaganda machine. And you can watch this show along with so many others live on their website, their app, or any of their social media sites. Plus, you can catch up with the latest blogs, articles, and stories from all the different show hosts and contributors. What more could you ask for? And now OpsLens wants to give you the opportunity to stay in the know on any issue going on all around the world without the bias, control, and manipulation from the mainstream media or social media. It's time for you to check out OpsLens Worldview. Don't fall for the one-sided reporting of the mainstream media. It's time for you to learn the truth, which means it's up to you to find the truth, and OpsLens Worldview can help. Sign up for OpsLens Worldview and see articles, blogs, reports, stories, and statements from elected officials or government agencies, along with local news stories and police reports from anywhere in the world on really any topic. Find out what's really going on from multiple sources without the filtered journalism or one-sided reporting. Now you can stay informed on global issues as they happen from the local sources, accessing more than 1.5 million online posts every day with tens of millions of blogs and first-hand accounts, all at your fingertips. Just go to opslens.com and click Worldview and use the promo code VOR10 for a 5-day free trial and 10% off when you sign up. Again, that's VOR10 for 10% off when you sign up for OpsLens Worldview. It's time to take knowledge, truth, and wisdom back into your own hands. And you do it right here with the voice of reason and opslens.com.
Fighting for freedom every day. This is the voice of reason with Andy Hooser.
Darn right it is. Welcome back into the program. 24 minutes past the hour. Radio, TV, live streaming, podcasting, however you watch or listen to the show. Thank you. What's up? On a Monday. Greatest day of the entire week. Is that right, Congressman? Greatest day?
Every day's a good day,
Every
right?
day's a good day.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what it's about. So we've talked about this debt ceiling bill. Let's move forward a little bit to however this ends up, which will be interesting to see by the end of this year. Again, we're unfunded by, they say we could potentially shut down early to mid-June, so we're about 3.5 months out that we have to figure out funding for. But let's go to the next fiscal year. Obviously, you're a big part of that as well, writing, working on the appropriations. Again, we haven't had 12 appropriations bills since before Obama. Can we get it this year? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, it's a possibility. It can happen. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of distraction with the debt limit discussion that's going to happen. Some of this stuff's going to be done in parallel. Yeah. And we now that the House has voted on the debt ceiling, and as part of that bill, we said let's make the fiscal 2022 levels our baseline for 2024. So the federal budget that starts October 1.
Sure.
So now the Appropriations Committee is starting their work. So they're out looking at the details to fit under those parameters, those dollar spending levels.
Sure.
And so I think we'll probably be voting, if not late June and early July in the House on the appropriations for fiscal 2024. And then it goes over to the Senate for them to vote on. That'll be about the time frame that we finish up with the debt ceiling discussions, based on what Secretary Yellen and some of the big banks are estimating when the extraordinary measures will run out. So
I was going to ask you, she keeps saying they're using extraordinary measures to keep paying. What are those extraordinary measures? Do we know?
So it's all at the Secretary's discretion of what happens. So basically, instead of issuing new debt to pay our bills, what she's doing is taking the cash that comes in, paying the outgoing obligations, whether it's paying interest on a note or whether it's paying off Social Security or other things.
Sure.
But she's not doing things like depositing money into the federal retirement system or not issuing on behalf of states new debt that the states could then utilize for some of their programs. So it is, they call it extraordinary measures, but basically it means just juggling around without creating real new debt.
Almost like a family budget. You actually have to just move money around a little bit to make sure to pay the debts here, which is not a bad thing. Is it true that even if we don't end up passing a bill, is it true even if we shut down the government or whatever that we would not default on debts because that would be the number one priority with whatever tax revenue comes in?
So the issue is right now is we have enough revenue coming in to pay 80% of our current spending. So we could continue to pay that 80% of it. Problem is we're borrowing that other percent. That goes back to $1 out of $5 that are being spent is borrowed. So you could easily prioritize. In fact, that's exactly what the Secretary's doing right now. Is she is prioritizing the bills she is paying and not making some payments or deposits into the retirement account or other things that she could do because of that extra $1 out of $5 that they're not issuing new debt for.
That almost seems like, and we're almost out of it. We got like 30 seconds here. That almost seems like that's where the politics comes into play, because if we're only needing to borrow 20% to cover bills that go out on a monthly basis, And if something like this happens, it's at the discretion of the Treasury Department to decide what's not getting paid out, which falls into the politics of how bad do we want the consumer to get hit for them to see the impact of what you guys are not doing.
And that really does get into the propaganda or misinformation standpoint, and whether it's Schumer or Biden or the secretary. In any case, they talk about how bad it would be.
Yeah.
And the Republicans don't want to default on our debt. I mean, we want to pay our obligations, but we need to have the revenue to pay off our spending.
And almost like the government shutdowns when Obama's like, we're going to shut down the tourism in D.C. because of the government. Come on, man. Yeah, that's what it is. Congressman, we're out of time, my friend. Keep up the fight. Your 97% CPAC rating is amazing. Thank you for what you do. We'll get you back on here again soon.
Excellent. Great. Thank you.
Always a pleasure, my friend. All right, we'll take a break. Scott Powell, right around the corner. We'll talk about corruption in the government right around the corner. Stay
Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government censorship and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the voice of reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates, from holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the voice of reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own voice of reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media. The Hooser Media Network continues to grow every single day with new shows, new content, and new information as we continue to fight the narrative against the mainstream and give you the alternative view of the world. The Hooser Media Network is home to great TV, radio, and podcasting programs on any topic of any interest. From politics and current events to religion and spirituality, holistic and alternative health, entertainment, motivational speakers, and so much more. And with the Hooser Media Network, you can enjoy more content from the voice of reason like this. With the vaccinations, with the quote-unquote health pandemic, now that the emergency response is going to be lifted by the end of this month, with the continued forcefulness of vaccines that they've done, are we at the stage in society that you thought that we would be in at this time?
That's a good question. I haven't had that one. I thought we were going to be further along with disclosure of the data and acknowledgement by the government of what's happened here. Instead, what we've seen is the ongoing suppression of information, including public health information that doctors could use to help start protecting their patients from the long-range consequences of these if they only had the data. So what has happened is some really interesting information is popped in the UK that demonstrated that their lead public health officer has really weaponized fear and manipulated the people. That's creating a lot of blowback over there. And we still have just a ton of denialism, cover-ups and everything else going on. They just don't seem to want to come clean.
That is very true. Now, here's the big question. Is it starting to get leaked out? Obviously, we heard the last couple days the other side losing their minds over, for example, the January 6th videos coming out. There's now an ethics complaint being filed against House Speaker Kevin McCarthy because the video was released to the public for our personal knowledge and understanding and information. Is the truth beginning to come out on this issue as well? Not only with, obviously, we see the origins of COVID coming out, which they're trying to push back from, realizing that it wasn't Ozzy Osbourne biting the head off a bat over in China to spread this virus, but it was actually the Wuhan lab that was spreading this. So that's starting to happen. Will the truth come out on this vaccine stuff too?
Yeah, the backstory on that was that this appears to have been a retaliation because the Chinese government was aligning itself with Russia, and so we decided that this was the right time to really emphasize the role of the CCP and the Wuhan Institute of Virology, while not while obscuring the fact that the tech was transferred to them by EcoHealth Alliance, and the money to do the job was provided by the U.S. government. So that's an interesting twist. Is the information coming out about the jabs? Somewhat. There's still just a ton of denialism, pushback. The whole propaganda apparatus is still absolutely in gear. The fifth-gen warfare psyops is still in progress. And we did have a fascinating article the other day that issued in Newsweek. This is from my friend Scott Atlas. America's COVID response was based on lies, published on the 6th in Newsweek. This is one of the most frank acknowledgments of what's happened that I've seen. But it focuses mostly on the lockdowns, and I think there's growing universal agreement that the lockdowns were a huge government overstep. Whatever you think about the jabs, whether they're safe or effective or not, pretty much there's universal acknowledgement that the lockdowns caused enormous damage economically, excess loss of life, destroying businesses, destroying people's income and ability to make a living, and for absolutely no purpose at all.
Listen to all these programs and so much more as we try to bring back knowledge, wisdom, and truth back into the world. And we do that right here with the Hooser Media Network, the future of media.
When Reason Meets Radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Darn right it is. Welcome back into the program. Man, flying right on through the program today. Thanks again to Congressman Ron Estes, great personal friend, my congressman here in the 4th District of Kansas. Swinging in studio. He does that every bit to give us an update on what's going on in Washington, D.C. And I tell you what, the battle is difficult. As I mentioned throughout last week, I am frustrated a little bit with the bill that came out of the House based on raising the debt again, another $1.5 trillion. At the same time, it is a great, fantastic political move for them to show how they're willing to work and compromise with Democrats who are unwilling to sit down and do anything with the other side of the aisle. So politically, it makes us look really good. Hardliner-wise, we're still raising the debt, which frustrates me a little bit, but it's still, I guess if we have to have a starting point, that's a starting point that we have to have. So kind of stuck in the middle on that one. All right, welcome into the program. I want to shift gears a little bit. Overall, are we doing well as a nation? Are we where we're supposed to be constitutionally? Are we where we're supposed to be with our limited government, private sector, capitalist, laissez-faire, free market society? Are we where we're supposed to be at this point in time? And when we call out the government on things, on their actions, on what they're doing, we get labeled as either the nuts, or we get labeled as the radicals, or even as the conspiracy theorists. But is that true now? And is it starting to go more mainstream as we do the latest in what's trending for the day?
What's trending today?
As I'm happy to have back on the program, great guest. We've had him on many times before as well. His book is Rediscovering America. You can check him out with all his latest pieces. No longer conspiracy theory, time for action, government betrayal of the Constitution. Happy to have back on the program Mr. Scott Powell. Scott, how are you, my friend?
It's great to be with you. It really is.
Yeah, great to have you back on the show. So the time for action, the government usurping their power just a little bit. How far away are we right now compared to what the intention was when we created this form of government all the way back then? We actually created a constitution. How far have we come all this time?
We have come a long, long way. I mean, we're not only seeing the violation of wholesale of our First Amendment, but the violation of the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth, the Sixth Amendments to the Constitution. And really, government is just out of control with its spending, and we have seen the debt growing at about an 8.5% annual growth rate over the last 20 years. And meanwhile, our economy is lucky to have a 2.5% growth rate. So if if you were to graph those two lines, 2.5% growth versus 8%, guess what happens?
Yeah.
As the longer you go out, the wider and wider the space between those two lines is, and that represents the deficit. And the aggregate debt now is nearly $32 trillion, whereas back at the end of 2008, the end of the Bush administration, the national debt was about $8.5 trillion. So it's almost quadrupled in literally just 15 years. That's unbelievable, actually,
Yeah.
if you want to know the truth.
It's a scary
And,
thought. Now,
you know,
the Biden administration just says, like, this debt ceiling issue, we just need to willy-nilly raise it. We've always done that. We've never balked at it, never pushed back. So I don't know why you guys are giving me issues now. It's all political game. We've never been in a situation where we have a 120% debt ratio over our GDP and our income as a nation. That's massive, and that's a cause for concern, I think.
And well, that's actually only a partial analysis. That ratio is basically on the that 120% ratio. It reflects just the bondholders that are actually we have to pay interest to, whereas the other bondholders are, the funds within the United States. Social Security has debt instruments, IOUs placed in it in the form of government bonds. But we don't count those, you see. We just, when we in fact know that Social Security and Medicare are also going broke.
Right. Yeah.
But it's just the same old shell game that they play on us, and we aren't told the truth about the problems that our country faces. I mean, let's just look at one area alone. Let's look at the southern border of the United States. We have seen the influx of about 5 million new people. And they aren't just from Latin America. They're from all over the world. We have Chinese people getting into our country now. China represents our number one enemy. Why is our border? Why are we allowing all these people to come in to the country? This is all the Biden administration's doing. Yeah. We had a fairly secure border at the end of the Trump administration. Wasn't perfect, but we were getting there. We almost completed the wall. But we basically have a government against the people right now, and if you really look at all of the policies that they're pursuing, one can conclude that the government does not care about the American people. It's not responsive to the American people. It's not taking care of their needs. It is subverting our country to a new global order.
Sure.
And it's hard for us to fathom that. But you have to look at the evidence and then make your own conclusions.
What's the end goal? Obviously, with this globalization that we're seeing, obviously with the open borders, the attack on the First Amendment, the attack on the Second Amendment, all down the road that, like you mentioned earlier, on the rights that we're losing as American citizens, what is the end goal? Is it for them to have full control, centralized power at the federal level and to get rid of a concept called federalism where the states actually have rights? Is it the federal level, or is it, like you said, moving on up to the global government and the global powers to take control of the nation and completely just dismantle and erase the Constitution as if it never happened?
It would appear that we're really being set up for a new world order. And I mean, this has been in the works for many, many years. It's gotten a lot of publicity because of the World Economic Forum and their crazy agenda. I mean, that gets people's attention. I mean, most people said, "Oh, that's eat bugs, no way." All that they represent is almost laughable, and yet their policies have been adopted by various countries, and the countries that have adopted these policies are in deep trouble. I mean, they've had a revolution in Sri Lanka. You have a revolution going on with the farmers in Holland. You have a collapse of the New Zealand government. The former Prime Minister of New Zealand was a Young Leaders Forum graduate of the World Economic Forum. We have problems in Australia. And to our north, Canada, Justin Trudeau is sort of the exemplary graduate of the World Economic Forum's Young Leaders program. And Klaus Schwab has said, had said on several occasions that he takes great pride in infiltrating half of Trudeau's cabinet. He views half the cabinet as being loyal to the World Economic Forum agenda and not loyal to Canada. And look at the direction that Canada's going. I mean, it's not the country it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, that is very true. Well, and now we see, obviously, OPEC, let's take for an example, coming out of Europe with oil and energy. We see them halting a lot of their production or slowing down a lot of their production. Gas prices across the nation right now are $3.50 as an average. On the off season, I can't imagine what it's going to look like when we get to actually Memorial Weekend in a few weeks and go into the summer season where people want to travel and actually go on vacation and do stuff. And that's all based on this global market where they've chosen how much production is going to be worldwide and how much each country gets. This is only the tip of the iceberg, isn't it?
Right. And remember that in the Trump years, Trump really wanted to wean America away from all these international relationships that were sort of screwing us. And one of the things he did was he said bye-bye to the Paris Climate Accord, and thus he had there was no obligation to meet any of their goals, and he recognized that we are an oil and gas-rich country and that we ought to develop oil and gas. And oil and gas are the most reliable and cheapest sources of energy in the world at this particular time. Yeah. And of course, it's all that we have, all our resources are created by God, and they're created by God for the benefit of man. So I don't buy into, the elitists wanting to sort of change things around to their agenda, and almost always their agenda is for more power and more money at the expense of whom? The people. So oil and gas, we're blessed with it. Our whole military relies on it for the most part, except perhaps the Navy, which has largely a nuclear fleet. But every other part of our military, from our Air Force to our ground troops, require a lot of oil and gas. And primarily, gas and diesel, gasoline and diesel. And, we're jeopardizing our security by not bringing up more oil and gas to become independent. Yeah. I mean, China cannot support itself, does not have enough oil and gas within its borders and offshore, whereas we have an enormous surplus. Our country could be the strongest country in the world if only we had good and courageous leadership, and we don't have that now, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's sad and it's very scary. Scott, we got to take a hard break. Can you stick over one more segment with us?
I sure will.
Awesome.
Yes.
I love it because it's a great conversation. And now that we've laid out some of those issues, the question is, like your piece is, no longer conspiracy theory. It's time for action. What is that action? What can we do to actually fix a lot of these issues as the government continues to ignore their oath of office, ignore the Constitution, ignore those limitations on power, keeping that power in the private market and letting us do our own damn thing that doesn't seem to be what their priority is. So we'll do that when we come back, how we can actually take action and make these changes and be aware of some of these issues that I'm sure a lot of people don't even know about until it's kind of a day late and a dollar short. And that's a bit concerning. We'll do that with Scott Powell right around the corner for a Monday here on The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to The Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring The Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You want some more reason throughout the day? Well, now it's easier than ever to find. Here's what you do. Check out the website at HooserReason.com. There you can find past shows, links to all of our social media, special features, our monthly blogs, and a heck of a lot more. Plus, make sure to check in frequently as we're constantly working to add more goodies that you'll really enjoy. Also, you can always subscribe and follow our social media sites for bonus content, articles that we use on the show, or maybe some additional rants. Yeah, it's all that and so much more. Check it all out at HooserReason.com. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hoosier Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. As we continue to grow as a radio and TV program, we're continuously working behind the scenes to try and bring more common sense and reason to more patriotic Americans all over the country. That's why we're super excited to be working with the OpsLens team to bring you the Voice of Reason every single day. OpsLens is a national online network bringing you incredible content all day from hosts all over the country. And each host brings their own unique experience and expertise to the current events, reaching hundreds of thousands of patriotic Americans daily. Make sure to check out their website at opslens.com. Make sure to download the OpsLens website and follow them on all of these social media sites that you like, so you can watch all their live streaming content, including ours right here with the Voice of Reason. Plus, if you want more of the Voice of Reason, check out our website online at HooserReason.com. There you can listen to the live audio feed of the show every single day. You can read our monthly blog. You can check out our satire infomercials. You can see pictures of what we're doing, upcoming schedule of events, and a heck of a lot more. On the website, you can find our list of radio and TV affiliates in your area. Find our social media links, and while you're there, sign up for our free newsletter. Over the last 2 years, your Voice of Reason newsletter has grown exponentially. It's completely free, and in it we give you your monthly motivation, upcoming civic holidays for the month, a recap from the show from last month, upcoming guests on the program, along with the latest news from our Hoosier Media Network. It's pretty simple. All you got to do is go to the website at HooserReason.com and become the next Hoosier-holic. Finally, follow us on all of our social media sites. With the iron grip control on content from the radical left, unless you follow us, you're not going to be able to see us. It's been an ongoing battle with shadow banning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where even our own fans are having a hard time finding our content. But the battle isn't over. We'll continue to bring you the best content we can on as many platforms as possible. You can follow us with the handle at Hoosier Reason. No matter what social media site you like to use, you can find us there. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch.tv, Instagram, TikTok, OurFreedomBook.com, Parler, and of course our website at HooserReason.com. Don't miss it while we give you a heads up on some of the events that I may be attending or speaking at, updates of behind-the-scene projects, or just something sarcastic to try and rile up the left. The battle for freedom is real, and we want to be part of that battle, as we want you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Conservative principles happen at the grassroots level, and that's what we're here to help with. And together, you and I can fight back against this virus that's spreading across the nation that is socialist policy, trying to destroy this country. We can bring us back to some constitutional values, some individual sovereignty, and the right for you to be able to make your own choices when you deem necessary for you, your family, and your community. In a world of fake news and information overload, it's time to bring back some reason, common sense, guidance, and a little bit of wisdom. And that's what we're here to do. This is the Voice of Reason.
Fighting for freedom every day. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Holy cow, man, the show flew right on by today. One of the fastest hours of radio on, multiple radio stations all over the place, plus our TV feed, live streaming, podcasting. However you check us out, we love you to death. Always appreciate you very much. We hit another milestone, by the way, for April on podcast downloads all over the country. Texas, you guys are killing it. California, you guys are rocking it. Thank you guys so much for listening to the show. I love watching it on a monthly basis, see kind of where we're seeing downloads, We're still at the top of Listen Notes, I believe is the website. Top 10% of all podcast downloads on that site. So thank you guys for that. Also, new radio affiliates jumping on here soon as well. More information on that coming here relatively soon. A lot of great projects we got going on for 2023, and we can't do it without you and your support. So thank you very, very much. Right now, we're hanging out with Scott Powell, author of the book Rediscovering America: How the National Holidays Tell an Amazing Story About Who We Are. Also, his latest piece, No Longer Conspiracy Theory, Time for Action, Government Betrayal of the Constitution, which I've tried to say for years. The betrayal began when we allowed a fourth branch of government, a.k.a. the administrative bureaucratic agencies that are unelected, and continue to write legislation with Congress focusing more time on re-elections than they are actually about writing bills. I think that's where a lot of this got started. So now the question is, Scott, it's time for action. What is that action, and what can we do to slow some of this shenanigans down?
Well, I think that the Democrat Party has established a pretty good precedent for us. They have hauled the former President of the United States, Donald Trump, into a court in New York. Not even the New York District Attorney, but the Manhattan District Attorney, Alan Bragg, has decided that all these charges that have been dropped by other courts, he's going to make an issue of it. And, of course, this is not about anything other than hurting Donald Trump's candidacy for president in 2024. In any case, that was consummated. Trump went to New York, actually turned himself in for arraignment rather than having a perp walk issue, which is probably what the Democrats thought he'd do. He might resist coming. No, he preempted that and said, "Yeah, here I am. Let me know what you need here. Give me the charges, and I'll see you in court." Well, of course, it's not going anywhere, but that established a precedent. So I think it's high time that various district attorneys from state district attorneys like Paxton in New York, arraign Homeland Security. He could start with arraigning Homeland Security, the Director of Homeland Security, Mayorkas, for failing to protect Americans.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been an open border with the influx of nearly 5 million illegal people entering the United States, putting a burden on our school systems, on our healthcare system, to say nothing of the increased crime that we have seen as a result of this.
Yeah.
Let's haul him into court. Let's arraign him for the failure to uphold and keep his oath of office, which is to protect the United States, to protect the American people.
Yeah. That's what it's about.
That's what his oath of office was.
Well, and that's why people
Right?
love Donald Trump, is because he fought for that regardless of the inside politics, regardless of the establishment. He was the guy that went in, exposed a lot of stuff, overturned a lot of the tables, and even people that didn't necessarily like his politics respected what he was doing to the quote-unquote system that I think is desperately needed.
Oh, I agree. I really agree. So I think it's time for action, as I said in that op-ed piece. We write about it, we think about it, we talk about it. There comes a point where it's time for action, and I think we're at that point, because I don't know that our country can really hold it together for until the 2024 election without some kind of corrective, because we have been on the defensive, and we shouldn't be on the defensive. We are the patriots who believe in the Constitution of the United States. We believe in law and order. We believe in the values that have made this country great. We believe in protecting children, the innocence of children. We believe that the family has the primary authority in the child's life. And we can keep going down the list of what we believe and what we stand for, which are basically values that 20, 30 years ago and all the years before, those values were shared by everybody in the country. And this woke revolution has basically introduced these new values, and it's very sad that family breakdown has resulted in parents not really raising their kids very well, and the school systems have failed to have really failed as well. So here we are.
And it's deteriorated pretty quickly.
With a country that's much weaker than it was.
Yeah, it's deteriorated pretty quickly once that Pandora's box got open. Scott, we're out of time, my friend. I love it. It is the book Rediscovering America. We appreciate the time very, very much, my friend. Let's get you back on here again real soon.
I look forward to it. I really do.
Always a pleasure. We'll do it again then. Until then, tomorrow's a Tuesday. We'll see you then on the radio. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the voice of reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the voice of reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast, become your own voice of reason, and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media.
From San Antonio, Texas, this